Hello Art 200 and welcome to Art Appreciation at Cuesta College. My name is Megan Lorraine Devon and I'll be your instructor for this course. I kind of like to be called Prof D, but you can of course call me Megan. The first thing that I want to point out is that you're going to need the textbook. This is the book we use. It's Exploring Art, a Global Thematic Approach. You can purchase this at the Cuesta College bookstore, or of course, you can get it on Amazon, and I think it's rather inexpensive to rent on Amazon. This course is divided into 3 units, and at the end of each unit there's an exam. The first unit covers sort of an introduction to the field of art, and especially the language and grammar of art. We'll begin by sort of thinking about the definition of art. What is art? What does art mean? Then we will talk about the language of art, and we'll talk about the elements and the principles. We'll talk about the different media, so what artists use to make art. And then of course we'll talk about meaning and how do we derive meaning from an artwork. Then in the second and third unit, we'll look at themes. So if you've looked at this textbook, you see that the textbook and the course is organized thematically. So there might be a section on the body in art, and we'll look at art from all over the world, from different time periods in art history, and we'll talk about how artists depict the body in art or deal with questions of the body in art. In chapter 1, we're going to be introduced to sort of some basic definitions in art. We'll talk about the language of art, and we'll talk specifically in chapter 1 about visual form, right? So art is a visual medium, and the visual arts are, as opposed to something such as theater, which is perhaps more text-based, the visual arts really involve looking. So we're going to be doing a lot of looking this semester, looking at art objects, thinking about them, and then writing and talking about them. So we're going to talk about visual form, how an artwork is put together. We will also talk about function. What does the function of the artwork? What does the artwork do? Does it communicate an idea? Does it express power? Is it a source of pleasure? Then we'll talk about content, and we're talking about content, we're talking about what's the subject matter of the artwork, what is some of the iconography, so what are the symbols and signs that we can read, and what's depicted. And then we're going to, in chapter 1, in this introduction, also review some key terms such as representational, naturalistic, idealized. So I want you to make sure that you read through this section of the textbook and make sure that you understand what all of these terms mean. And if you have any questions, of course you can email me or post your questions on the discussion forum. This first chapter also looks at some basic definitions, such as fine art, craft, popular culture, right? And it sort of starts to categorize some of these art objects that we're going to be looking at in this course. These terms and these hierarchies are very traditional. So perhaps I might not agree with, for example, saying that street art is not fine art. Sometimes that's relegated to the category of popular culture. So we can sort of disrupt some of those hierarchies, and you'll see that in the PowerPoints, the images that I post online, that I'm including artists that might not be in the sort of master narratives of art history. So that's sort of the gist of chapter 1. It's really an introduction to the way that artists think. I want you to start thinking about how artists think and how artists approach problems. Think about the artistic process, that art making is not something that you show up, you make something and you leave, but that there's a process involved in making art. And think about your own personal definition of art. What does art mean to you? Perhaps you're taking this course because it fit into your schedule, or it meets the requirement for the general education. But what else can you get out of this course? And a lot of what you get out of this course is going to be based on what you put into it. So start thinking about how art fits into your life, if at all. Maybe you think it doesn't, but maybe by the end of this semester, you'll be thinking something differently. So start to think about that. And again, if you have any questions, comment or post in the discussion forum. Have a good week.